My history with the school is I started it's after a year and a half. The school had been going for a year and a half, and I started in July and came on as the academic leader of the school, and I've been here ever since. So I started out as the chief academic officer, and when we moved into this building, I became principal of grades 5 through 12. My vision for the school is that they absorb the lessons of the ancient world and that they read about the authors, of the ancient world, and from that absorb the wisdom. And the greatest lesson from the classical tradition is that we're hoping to develop autonomous citizens and young people who are able to think for themselves and to direct their own lives in a way in which they feel that they're in charge. Much of what's happening to young people now is a sense that they are powerless, or that people are not respecting them. And so what we're trying to do is create students who feel as if they're in charge of their own destiny and are able to educate themselves and also direct their own behavior and be responsible citizens. Yes, at least 55% of our students are proficient in reading and math, and we have extremely high PARCC scores in ELA, partly because of the humanities basis of this school. They do a good bit of reading and writing. I think one of the other reasons why they're doing so well, particularly in ELA, but not only, also in math, is because of an approach we're using recently called the document-based question, DBQ, which is a pedagogy where they bring together disparate kinds of evidence and then have to make conclusions about it. So I think that's really a primary driver of why we're having so much success here. I believe every day I'm personally responsible for the academic growth of my students. In fact, I think that's what ages me. I worry about both ends of the spectrum, both the students who are struggling and the students who are at the high end, and whether or not every day we're moving each of them forward. I see it as my number one charge, that and making sure that students are personally safe and in a place where they are nurtured and cared for. So absolutely, I see it as my responsibility. Our academic expectations at Washington Latin for our students are very high. Research has shown over and over that academic expectations have to be high in order for students to succeed, and it is something that every class I go into, the first question that I ask is, are we asking students to do something that's challenging and that is interesting? And the teachers are aware that that's a question that I'm asking all the time. Is the material challenging and is it interesting? And from that comes high academic expectations. Student achievement is the result of both hard work and natural intelligence. The answer to the question about what causes student achievement, people often think it's one or the other, but it's clearly a union of both of them. And I tell students that hard work is often more important than native gifts and native intelligence, but it's also true that native intelligence makes a big difference. So I think that hard work can take students very, very far, but what really separates the students that are really flying with the material is the native intelligence. So I think expectations for kids have to be high, and then they have to bring to bear both hard work and their native intelligence. We keep track of our students' academic performance through a number of means. First of all, 4 times a year, our teachers write a lengthy narrative comment on every single student that they teach. And those are mailed home, and we keep those on file. So it's a tracking of their grades. We also keep track of their test scores and their academic performance on the standardized tests, whether in the high school for PSAT and SAT or in the other parts of the school through the PARCC testing. We look at those 4 times a year to track how the students are doing. And then I meet weekly with the grade directors who are responsible for 2 grades. So 7th and 8th grade, for example, I meet with them weekly, and we go through the academic performance of any students who are struggling or who are at the high end and need a challenge. Behavioral expectations for my students are clear from the moment that they walk in the door. We have a place here that takes the culture of this school very seriously, and the culture is created by establishing norms for behavior. Treating people civilly, we have an informal motto called "Words Matter," in which we ask students to be very careful about the words that come out of their mouths. And we ask them to be civil, to be respectful, to be thoughtful, to remove the headphones, which is a reason that we do that is because it cuts them off from the rest of the world. We do allow them on breaks and during lunch to have the phones, but behavioral expectations for students are that they enter into civil discourse with the people around them. We enforce rules both by holding those accountable who have broken them, and also by offering incentives for good behavior, and also by creating a culture amongst the students where the other students will help enforce rules. So the best enforcer of adolescents particularly are their peers, and so we often use students as role models or as mentors, and we use the older students often to mentor the younger students. We also enforce the rules clearly through a discipline system, but I have a particular rule about discipline in this school that every child must be listened to before any decisions are made about their future or about what happens to them. So we spend a good bit of time talking to students around here. We do have a demerit system, and we also have a detention system, and then we use in-school suspension. I rarely use out-of-school suspension anymore. It's ineffective, but we do use a kind of in-school suspension where students are with their teachers, their advisors, and the grade deans for the entire day. We reward students who are doing the right thing by a system of merits that we give to students monthly in each division of the school. And this is a paper with signatures on it that explains to the student what they've done and what they've done well. And we announce this and ask them to stand up in the assemblies. I am not a particular fan of rewarding students with points or food or a variety of incentives that some schools use, but I do like to use public acclaim as a way to honor the good behavior of students. I believe that the professional development of my teachers is absolutely crucial to what happens in this building and is one of my primary responsibilities. I must keep these people growing and thinking and must keep them challenged and moving forward. I do professional development in a variety of ways. One of them is by creating an intellectual environment where smart people want to be. And where they want to stay for a long time. I do that by hosting bi-monthly soirees at my house where we pick a topic of educational interest and have an informal conversation about that. These are voluntary and anybody can come who would like to. We just did one on Euclid, an ancient geometer. I also do professional development by bringing in outside speakers who speak to the faculty, and we do professional development through multiple observations and then targeting whatever issues that we see in the classroom. We have created also instructional teams that meet monthly that are made up of faculty with faculty leaders who talk about a given instructional topic. Right now we're working on assessment. When we have a teacher vacancy, we have a process that follows the same procedure. We advertise the vacancy in any number of places with placement agencies, with online providers, and also we send our vacancies out publicly to our parent body. We get most of our faculty by word of mouth and by the faculty telling other faculty to come here or by our parents recruiting people. So we recruit through any means possible. I do much of the recruiting. We are looking at adding additional staff for recruitment purposes. We evaluate our teachers in a variety of ways, and this year actually we're changing our evaluation system. So we evaluate every single teacher in this building through a formal class visit once a year, but we also do multiple informal class visits. We're using a standard rubric that the faculty have worked on themselves, and we hold them accountable through that rubric. Part of the rubric is student growth, but we do not make student test scores a large part of the faculty evaluation. Faculty evaluation and the job of a faculty member is larger than how students perform on standardized tests, and we're very clear about that in our accountability. We engage parents in their child's education in a variety of ways. The first is through their academic progress reports that we write 4 times a year. They're lengthy and narrative, and we ask parents to go through them carefully with their children. And through that, we engage them in what's going on in their child's academic progress. We have back-to-school nights that we invite all the parents to and hope that they'll come. We have about 80% attendance. We track attendance at events for parents and then make phone calls to people who we haven't seen in a while. We also have a program of home visits that we've recently started, and so we've been making home visits to parents of 5th graders and any other parents new to the school. We have a parent association that every parent is automatically a member of, and we have numerous committees that they can sign up for and be part of. We also invite parents to come in and go to class if they would like to, and ask them to visit us to share their expertise in a variety of areas. I'm available to talk to parents at pretty much any time of the day except when I am teaching. Every member of the administration at Washington Latin teaches at least 1 class. And so during that time, I turn off everything and I can't have anybody speak to me. But during the rest of the day, I am available by phone, by email, and often just by drop-in visits. I do leave Wednesdays for parent visits, but I schedule them at any other time that they would like to come in.